Ah, angelic voices as the angel descends upon our tree. And we now are done with this Advent calendar, Christmas Eve. And we wake up tomorrow morning and we'll find presents under our tree. Well, actually, we already had our presents, but Phil and Kim are coming over and we'll have a nice Christmas morning with them.
Hey, welcome back. It is December 24th, day 24 of our Vlogmas. I am so glad that you are joining me once again. We have made it all the way through the month of December. Tomorrow is Christmas. We have been spending time in Advent, opening calendars and eating chocolates and all the stuff we do to prepare for a holiday. And more importantly, we have spent time preparing our hearts for what God wants to do through us this holiday season as we really slow down from all the commercial, crazy, stressful, and instead focus on the real meaning of love, joy, forgiveness, salvation, peace that comes through knowing Jesus. I hope if you're not a Christ follower this month that you've really taken time and paid attention to some of that and maybe considered what it means in your life. And if you are a Christ follower, as I know a lot of my followers are, I hope that you've taken time to keep your priorities laser focused, because it's so easy to be distracted, isn't it?
I am out driving today, Christmas Eve, December 24th. Thought that I would do some Lyft driving today and help people get to the airport and to work and different things. It's 17 degrees in Charleston, South Carolina, which of course means that it's much colder in most of the rest of the country. But it's the South, 17 degrees. We deserve a white Christmas if it's going to be this cold. But of course, it's blue skies. It's beautiful. It's just cold. I was told to let my pipes drip during this really cold so that they wouldn't burst. And I'm glad I did. I've seen other neighbors do the same. And what is going on is that icicles are forming. Some people even had their icicle go all the way up to their faucet. So I'm glad that hasn't happened. Some water in this lid here is frozen. It's cold. This is the South. We're not supposed to get this cold.
Okay, well, I was out Lyft driving this morning. That's what I'm kind of doing a little bit to make some money, pay some bills, until I figure out my full journey. You know, we stepped out in faith when we left Half Moon Bay in California and moved here to Charleston. And I don't have an official job lined up. I'm trying to see if I want to, how I can make art maybe more of an income stream. So, you know, you got to pay bills, and we're blessed and we're doing well. And so this helps. And so nonetheless, I was out doing Lyft driving today and had I had a number of passengers, but I had two different ladies who were black and they were on their way to work, but they were sharing what their meals were going to be for the evening. We got to talking about how do you celebrate your holiday? And it was fun. It was a fun discussion. So one of them said, we had greens for Thanksgiving, so for Christmas I'm going to make my okra soup. And that sounded really good to me because years ago when I met Diane and she introduced me to her grandmother served me some version of an okra stew. It was wonderful. So I'm sure these ladies made some incredible food. And then I picked up another lady, again, who shared some of their celebration. And I said, what sort of foods do you have? And she said, you know, ham and turkey and all that fixings. And she goes, but we're going to probably do greens for New Year's, and we're going to do some sort of a bean dish. Maybe it was Hoppin' John. I don't remember. That's new to me, by the way. I've had discussions asking, what is Hoppin' John? Learning a lot of new things when you're here in the South and you don't recognize different foods. In any case, I learned something I never knew, and maybe you didn't know either, so I'm going to share it. In the black culture, different foods have some symbolism. We know that they're soul food and comfort food and are very part of the black culture's diet, and they're wonderful. But I learned that greens have a symbolism of money and wealth, and so it's often eaten at the holidays, particularly New Year's, as a wish of wealth and prosperity in the coming year. And I think I couldn't verify this one on an internet search, but I think she said that the beans dish, Hoppin' John maybe, or other beans, represented health, and so there's real rich symbolism and meaning in the foods that are part of the soul food, the black culture. And I really love learning that, and I hope that you enjoy that as well. Lots of cool things I'm learning while being here. So let me show you a little bit more of the baking that I did. Round 2 of baking came out as I prepared for our holiday. We shared a lot of it with our neighbors, as I said, because there's just the 3 of us here in this house, and Phil and Kim are going to join us for some Christmas Eve and Christmas Day time. But we're not going to eat all these cookies and pies and whatever. But some foods just have to be made. And then you freeze them and you eat them later and, whatever. But some foods just have to be made. I'd love to hear in the comments, what are some foods that have to be made for your celebration in order to it feel like it really was Christmas for you? I mean, like the greens and the Hoppin' John or the okra soup or ham or turkey or, a certain type of cookie or a certain type of pie. Let me know in the comments what are some of your favorites for you and your family celebration. All right, well, here, look at some of my baking. All right, here I am baking a pecan pie of all things. We had so many pecans left, and so I thought, well, let's just make a pie. And I had a crust in the freezer anyway, and so I found a recipe, modified it a bit with some orange rind that I saw some people in comments make, and a little bit of bourbon flavor in there, which of course it all cooks off, and it looks incredible. You'll see it here in the end. And then, of course, Diane wanted some peanut butter cookies with the chocolate kisses in them. And I learned something that I'd never known before, that, 1.5 cups of flour was in the recipe. But the guy that I got the recipe from said, make sure you weigh it, because 1.5 cups might be too much if the weight is off. And sure enough, it was only about 1.25 cups, and that if you have too much flour, that's what makes peanut butter cookies, or probably any cookie, too hard. And so this was just perfect. I've tasted these already. This is the best peanut butter cookie I have ever made in my life. And so I followed the recipe from the Preppy Kitchen guy on YouTube, and it's good. I didn't flatten them out like a lot of peanut butter cookies because I wanted to let the chocolate kiss go on there. All right, here we're making some Rice Krispie treats, and we're adding some red and green M&Ms and some sprinkles to make them more festive, and we're trying to put them in these molds. They were a little more challenging to mold. They're so much easier just to make in a flat pan and cut into squares. And, we popped them out of the mold. You'll see they don't look the best, but they're okay. The chocolate M&Ms melted a little too much, but they still look okay, and they'll taste great. And there's the pecan pie. Yum, 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 yum.
Okay, it is the 24th. We are finally finishing these advent calendars. I already know what the Happy Elves are bringing us. It's a $5 gift card to IKEA. It's the gift that makes me keep going back there. And it's the hardest one to open for some reason. They apparently don't really want me to have the $5 gift card. Oh, look at that, and chocolates. Wow. There we go, with more Happy Elves. And let's see, Waffles is already waiting. And here's the final one of the lint, and it's a big one. Oh, so it's the big Santa Claus. There we go. That's nice. Nice, generous way to end. And then, of course, Waffles is going to be disappointed. She loves her toys, but she really loves the treats. And this is a toy. She's never gotten into the ropes. But let's see. Here you go, Waffles. What's that? You want to play tug of war? Arr, arr, come on. Tug of war. There you go. Can you do it? Here, let's try fetching for it. Go get it. Okay, well, we'll get used to it. It's certainly a quieter toy.
Well, when I got up to drive this morning, it was still dark. I left before the sun came out. Figured while everybody else was asleep, I'd get a few hours in of driving. And it was cold. I'm feeling pretty gypped because we moved here to the south expecting it to always be warm. I did not expect it to be seriously cold. And this morning it was 17 degrees. And it's not going to get above 32 today. It's going to be in the 20s. And really most of the next few days. But there is no snow. And I feel gypped because if it's this cold, it should be snowy as well. I want a white Christmas. I've never had a white Christmas, and I would like one. And I don't want a lot of snow. I don't want to have to shovel it. I don't want to have to deal with it for weeks on end. I have no desire to go move in a climate where it's at. But a nice little dusting here in Charleston would be nice. I would take that. But alas, no snow. None whatsoever. So... yeah. All right. Hey, let's look at our final passage as we prepare for the holiday season, the Advent time. And we're actually bringing it around to the end of the historical account of the life of Jesus. We're well past, if you've been following in Luke and Matthew, we're well past his birth. And we talked yesterday about how Joseph took the family. Life was disrupted. They fled to go to Egypt. Well, here it says then in Matthew 2, it says, when Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt. Get up, the angel said, take the child and his mother back to the land of Israel, because those who were trying to kill the child are dead. So Joseph got up and returned to the land of Israel with Jesus and his mother. But when he learned of the new ruler of Judea was Herod's son Archelaus, he was afraid to go there. Then, after being warned in a dream, he left for the region of Galilee. So the family went and lived in a town called Nazareth. This fulfilled what the prophets had said. He will be called a Nazarene. And you've probably heard that, Jesus of Nazareth. And that's because he did his upper elementary, teen years in Nazareth and grew. And frankly, young adult, because Jesus didn't enter the ministry stage where he became public until age 30. So he did his growing up and formative years and early manhood in Nazareth. So that completes the story of his life until he starts out in ministry, as I just said. And once again, we see Joseph's willingness to believe the angel talking to him in a dream. And that's a pretty powerful behavior and openness on his part to follow God's leading. We sent out our Christmas cards this year, and in it they said that our motto for this past year was, and they built a life they loved. And that my hope and wish for all of you would be that with God's leading, you would do the same. We're not building a life we love just because we want to change things up. We felt led to go on this journey and this adventure. It's admittedly scary at times. It's admittedly nervous wracking. I'm not sure sometimes, if we're making the right choices. But I felt led of God to step out of where we were at and into something new. I don't know what the future holds. I'm still trying to figure it out. Diane and I, we're just trying to figure it out. But we're building a life we love, surrounding ourselves with some friends. We're trying to follow through on the possible dream of art. I would love to be back in ministry and work at churches or with churches in some way. At the very least, I will volunteer with my church and serve others in my community. I think those are valuable things to do, and I hope that you'll do similar things. The point is, though, that I started going down this journey, or this statement, stream of thought with you, is that following God's leading can be scary because it takes risk. It involves disruption. It involves the unknown. And we sometimes really become overly comfortable with the familiar and the rut. And this is the way we've always done it. And we've got a good job, and we've got a good house, and we've got a good community. Why would we want to mess all that up? And the short answer is I don't want to mess it up, but I felt led to mess it up, and so we did. And so there are times when I have to cry out to my friends and to Diana and say, help, I'm struggling with this. Please reassure me, things like that. I have to spend more time in prayer. But here's what I would always say to my church when I would speak. Until you have a need to trust God, you will never learn that He is trustworthy. Until you have a need to cry out for help, you will never learn that He helps us in our time of need. Until we have the opportunity to test God's provision, if we provide for ourselves all the time, we begin to think we don't need God. But when we do have a need for provision and He comes through, wow, how powerful to see God in action. And that's what this year of following God's leading has been for us. And it's scary because I've had 20 years plus of a stable job, salary, life, friends, the predictable, even though church work and life is never predictable. I mean, it's always filled with ups and downs. But nonetheless, the core rails that the train was going on were solid, right? And they're not anymore. And a lot of people are like, wow, you're so brave, you're taking the adventure. And I'm thinking, yeah? Or am I just plain stupid? And you know what? I'm landing on that it's not about me being brave or stupid. Maybe I could say it is about me to the degree that it's obedience. Diane and I are being obedient. But it's all about God's leading and us waiting, like with Advent, waiting to see how He's going to show Himself strong in our lives. And I don't know when that's going to happen. I wish, as I said earlier, in the month, that it would be now, but it's not now. And so we'll see. Stay tuned, as they say. The adventure continues. Go build the life you love. Include God, and it will be best. And let Him lead you and make it incredible. And along the way, be good to others. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for being part of this with me.